Hey there, today I am extremely excited to talk about the changes that are happening to some of the core box characters. And I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on whether or not these changes are enough to get these characters who have fallen behind a bit a big enough boost to start seeing the table more regularly. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. So, while we still do not know all of the changes that are happening to character cards from the game, Atomic Mass Games have now revealed all of the changes that are happening to the core set characters, which also means that we know which characters are not seeing any changes at all. But before I get into that, I have a couple of things I want to mention. And there are a couple of new things, but if you aren't interested in that, skip ahead to, I don't know, maybe the 3-minute mark, I guess. First of all, it's really just a gigantic thank you to this community. The channel earlier this week hit 3,500 subscribers, which is a crazy number for me to really get my head wrapped around. So thank you all for watching and supporting what I've been doing. Which leads me into two separate goals that I want to set forth for the channel. First, I want to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Is that ambitious? Yeah, probably, but I also can see that only about 40% of the people watching this are subscribed to the channel. This isn't something I try and make a big deal out of, and really I think hardly mention it usually, but if you have watched a few videos and enjoy what I'm doing and making content around, hit that subscription button. And if, let's say, this video hits around 1,000 views, well, that would be enough to hit the goal right out of the gate. If this is your first video though, no pressure really, but consider it if you stick around. The second goal I have set is one on Patreon. I've taken down the higher level subscription for the tokens because after having a kid, the time to produce the tokens became just a bit too much work and effort to keep up with, unfortunately, in addition to the videos and everything else. But I still want to be able to do something more. So with that in mind, I have set a new goal to start a Gamers Guild podcast. Again, ambitious, for sure, but this will allow me to do something I've been wanting to do for a bit now and expand what the Gamers Guild is and what I'm able to cover. The YouTube channel, or here, I guess, has hopefully been a great entry point for several people into Marvel Crisis Protocol, both the game and the community. But these videos don't always scale well with people who want to go deeper into combos and strategies. So I would like for the podcast to be a great place for people to dive into and for myself to dive into some of those ideas. Now that I have talked about all of that, let's talk about these updated character cards and whether or not these updates are enough to get them into a better place. And with that in mind, I want to take it a step further and say that I think AMG has done really well with character balance as it is. And that I hope that this rebalancing takes some of the best and worst characters and really just middles them all out so that they can easily see play where they are in affiliation or where there are some cool synergies to partake of. When Gamora gets her update, for example, I don't want her to suddenly become a must-take piece in every list, but I do hope that she has some cool synergies that make her more worth bringing with the Guardians or A-Force. And with that in mind, I'm going to start with a character who we've had their updated card for a while now, and that is Captain America, Steve Rogers. His changes are all to his attacks in one capacity or another. His push on his strike and his throw on his shield slam both got an increase in size from 2 to 3. The more significant of these changes to me is on the shield slam though, because it is a throw for one thing, and because it's also guaranteed. So it's going to allow Cap to deal out some extra damage both to the size 3 character and any unfortunate enemies that are within throwing distance. But even more significant is the guaranteed control element it gives Captain America over the battle for secure objectives, being able to move otherwise hefty pieces like Kingpin, Omega Red, and so on, gives Cap a bit of extra justification sitting on a secure point. The other change or changes Steve received are on his shield throw. The first change is that the attack went up to a strength 5 over the previous strength of 4, which does two things. The first and most obvious is that it increases the average damage output from the toss. That's cool, and again, if Cap is sitting on a back objective, it gives him more influence on the board. The other nice bonus, though, is that extra dice gives a much increased chance of getting the Wild to ricochet the shield and start to play pinball with an, again, more powerful attack. And while all of this is nice, the major change that really allows shield throw to become a valuable tool for Steve is that each shield throw will net him 1 guaranteed power. So that means if you get the ricochet, Steve's going to get 2 power from the attack. Steve has never really been a power-starved character because of his own leadership, but this will help ensure that he has the power to bodyguard and raise up that shield just about every single time he will need to. As a side note, if you are playing a Doom Prophecy Avengers list with Agent Widow and the like anyways, Steve with a now 9 dice shield throw could be absolutely lethal in a pinch. Just saying. So, do these changes mean that Steve is going to suddenly see a big boost in play? Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes, but it's a bit more complicated. I think a lot of people are going to want to try Steve out and get him going, and I do think that these changes are all very positive and help keep Steve on par with what we should expect from a 4-threat character, which is awesome. However, long term, the issue that remains, despite having one of the largest affiliations in the game, in the Avengers, is that there is a lack of leadership synergy in affiliation. Steve does have some great synergies with some of his 4-threat compatriots like Dr. Voodoo and Vision, where his leadership can be maximized on both a character's activation with something like a throw, as well as a reactive power that can trigger during an allied or enemy character's activation. Along with the number of Avengers that have 0 synergy with his leadership, like Ant-Man and Iron Fist, it just kind of feels bad. Quicksilver and Hawkeye are both 3s that can get some maximized potential out of Steve's leadership at least. But it remains that some of the best uses of Steve's leadership is out of affiliation with characters like Venom, Baron Zemo, and Baron Mordo. So I think Steve is in a great position to move forward, especially if we see a few more synergistic 3-threat characters get dropped into the affiliation. These changes will not, however, make you want to take Steve out of affiliation, but I don't think he comes with a hefty tax anymore for having that solid leadership that you can really build around. Now, the next character I'm going to talk about is one that I've been critical of since pretty much day one, and that is Iron Man, which is a bit sad for me because I've always been an Iron Man fan personally, starting from the day I first picked up the Extremix comic line. And good old Tony only had one change. His superpower Friday AI has gone from 3 power down to 2, which is a good change. It means in Steve's Avengers that he has access to his Friday AI on turn 1. And that on his backside, his Unibeam combo will be easier to obtain, as well as Ricochet Blast, which has also recently had its cost reduced. Really though, most of the time it means that Tony under Steve's leadership will have access to enough power to do it on turn 2, because turn 1 power is usually spent to interact with the different objectives. Personally, I wouldn't have minded seeing an additional cost reduction on homing rockets, or maybe getting a strength upgrade, but I guess under Steve's leadership it would be a bit too good for a range 5 7-die attack for 2 power once per turn, but that's also the point of having a leadership that can synergize for a good combo. Now, I will say that Corset Iron Man has already been seeing some play under Sam's leadership, as he is a great in-affiliation durable body, and soon he'll bring access to the extremely powerful Helios Bombardment, so Iron Man has found a home, and this buff is going to help him continue to see play in that home, especially alongside the Helios Team Tactic card that should be coming along shortly. But I don't see this revolutionizing the character. His card has a lot of elements that add up to what a 3-threat character should be, but not all of these elements line up to make a very synergistic character. This boost is a nice one though, and it will ensure that he continues to see my Sam Spam lists going forward, but he still isn't on my list to take with Steve's Avengers, and let me be perfectly clear, that's okay. He is now a character that can hold his own pretty well with easier access to more dice, and he has a home where he fits really well. And I think as long as every character has a good home, then AMG are doing things just right. The final 2 core set changes though, I do think are quite a bit more impactful than what we have seen on Iron Man. To finish up with the Avengers changes, we have Captain Marvel, who in my opinion was already doing quite well under the leadership of either She-Hulk or Magneto, but now she's going to just be getting better. She has 3 changes that are all quite good. The first and most notable is that her binary form has gone from costing 5 power down to 4. This does a lot of things. It means in Steve's Avengers, where it'll only cost her 3 if it's the first superpower she uses, once she gets to binary form, she can stay in it as long as she can get off 2 energy blasts per turn. Anywhere else, it just means it is going to be easier to get to that all-powerful form, or she will be a wrecking ball that is also quite tanky. Additionally, her throw has increased from size 3 to 4. I don't really have much to say about that because I feel like you know it's good. It is good, so it's good. I guess really the only thing that is worth mentioning is that size 4 control elements are going to be becoming a bit more important going forward because there are going to be less of them. As we have seen Shuri's control element reduced, I'm sure there's going to be a few other updated cards that have some reductions. So this throw's value is going to be nice, not just because of the damage, but also because we have the hotly anticipated Hulkbuster arriving soon, and Hulk with his recent buffs will be seeing the table a lot more. So Captain Marvel has a lot more of the reason to be doing the same. And for kicks and giggles, she is also immune to Incinerate now, which is never a bad thing. At this point, I still think Brotherhood and the A-Force are her best homes, and I can see a strong argument for her rising the ranks through Hydra by teaming up with Red Skull to become an absolute nightmare for just 4 threat. But she will have some tight competition for a 4 threat character in Cabal, because Ultron has also gotten quite the tune-up. And I'm going to start at the top of his card and work my way down because he has quite a few changes. First is his basic strike, that isn't quite so basic anymore. It has gone from a strength 4 to strength of 6. The only other 4 threat characters with a 6 die builder are Gamora and Black Dwarf off the top of my head, so he's part of a pretty unique club there. It does only gain him 1 power still, but a 6 die builder is hardly anything to scoff at. And if your enemies don't close with you, that's fine, because Ultron's Energy Blast has gained the ability to hand out the Incinerate special condition on a wild. So other than being 1 range band shorter, he basically now has Cable's Builder, and yeah, that's pretty freaking good. But that isn't all. So that Ultron doesn't feel left out, his terrain throw also got a boost, and can now toss size 4 terrain features medium, putting his throw on the same level as Scarlet Witch's. And the final change that he received was to Analyze and Annihilate. It is no longer a reactive power, but rather it is an innate or passive one that is always on. It now says that before you resolve your crits, Ultron may reroll 1 die in his attack roll for each critical die in the opposing defense roll. So it is a lot less wordy, and as a result, a lot less complicated than its previous iteration, but I will say this new timing does have a very specific window, so make sure not to miss it, because free dice consistency is always going to be welcome. And as well, because of this weird timing window, if Ultron rerolls any dice into a crit of his own, that die will get to explode, rolling in another dice. So previously, Ultron's problem was that he wasn't a super big threat. Sure, he could stick around on the table longer than anyone ever wanted him to because of his tactic card, Age of Ultron, but he was never a particularly scary threat, and he didn't have any board control elements other than his damage output. So he could mostly be ignored. The one big thing he had going for himself was the ability to drop off a size 3 threat, but, well, drop off got banned. So both he and the other size 3 flyer, Green Goblin, took a balance hit, but boy, have they rectified that. Ultron won't always have a size 4 terrain piece at his disposal, so while that is a nice change, it isn't always going to be the most impactful. However, everything else is. Analyze and Annihilate, no longer costing power, is great, as it will free up Ultron's power for his throw and spender more frequently, and even if Ultron isn't able to do much else on a turn, the ability to hand out Incinerate and maybe build up a bit of power of his own with Energy Blast will make him a constant threat on the board that is not so easily ignored. And, well, again, a 6 die free attack. As for where he will start popping up, I can see him easily being a nuisance in Sin's Cabal, or maybe even alongside Green Goblin in the Spider Foes with their revamped leadership. Honestly, outside of those two that popped into my head, I'm not sure where else he can easily get plugged into, but his overall kit has improved a lot, so there's not really many places that are just going to outright reject him anymore. And that is all I have for you today. If you were able to help with either of my goals that I have set forth at the beginning of the video, thank you, that is awesome. And if you're already contributing to one of those goals, thank you, you are awesome. One more way you can support the channel is through the guild sponsor, Tritex Games. They have some great prices for Marvel Crisis Protocol products. Their pre-order prices already take 20% off of retail, and then you can use the code TRITEXGGCP5 at checkout for an additional 5% off for a total of 25%, which is great, especially with the releases like Hulkbuster and the next wave of mutants that are still coming up. So if you're going to be placing an online order anyways, consider doing it through Tritex, especially if you're wanting to get your hands on some of the new releases a bit quicker overseas, as, well, shipping lanes are what they are. But if you're waiting and supporting an LGS and still want to help out the channel, a like and subscribe are always appreciated. And if you are subscribed, thanks to Tritex, I'm able to do a monthly giveaway. All you need to do to enter is be subscribed and to comment on a video released in the current month, and you have a chance to win a non-Ultimate Encounter expansion pack. And if you don't know what to comment, give me your best prediction about the changes we will see to Gamora's character card. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.